I drove a lot today. A lot. At my postal service station, we have a thing called Amazon Sundays. Um, my station and many other stations are basically paid to do the last mile of Amazon deliveries to places that, for whatever reason, it's more economical for our trucks and carriers to take them rather than an Amazon truck and driver. And the newer carriers, the carrier assistants, are all required to work pretty much every Sunday. I mean, we can call out sick once in a while, but by default, we are all scheduled to work on Sundays because there are a lot of boxes that need to go to a lot of different places. And normally it means you're in the truck with the boxes, you drive up to a spot, you park the truck, you get out with the box, you scan it, you take it to where it's got to go, then you get back in the truck, you drive to the next location, and the whole process repeats over and over again. But today I was helping to show a newer carrier who had not previously done an Amazon Sunday. I was walking her through the process. In practice, what that ended up looking like was I mostly drove, and she mostly did the getting out of the truck, getting the box, scanning it, dropping it off part. I asked her several times if she wanted to trade and drive, and she said she preferred to do the packages, so please don't at me. But what it meant was I was behind the wheel of the truck for 4.5 hours, stopping and starting and parking and, getting out every once in a while, but mostly driving that whole time, or at least sitting in the truck while it idled. And I realized something that maybe I already knew, but it was kind of reminded of, is how my perspective on the world changes when I am behind the wheel of a car. I have been a public transit supporter for decades now. And when I moved to Maryland, I moved here to work for a company that does design around non-car centered spaces, hiking, biking, walking, public transit, any way that you can get around that doesn't require a car. And so I'm all in on making everything accessible on foot or a bus or a bike. But when I'm behind the wheel of a car, speed bumps and long pedestrian crossing signals at busy intersections really get under my skin. And I can intellectually know that I am in support of the very things that are holding me up because they make the world safer for everybody who's not in a car and probably for the drivers in the other cars, now that I think about it. I can know that in my head and still in my heart be really annoyed that I have to wait for the walk sign to go out before the light turns green and I can make my right turn. And what this made me think is that everyone is going through that change of focus, is dealing with the different circumstances they find themselves in and how those circumstances influence maybe not entirely their core underlying values, but at the very least, which ones they emphasize and how well they do at behaving in accordance with those values. And so I think we should try to remember that about ourselves and the people around us and let that be a motivator to cut them some slack if they make a decision that we don't immediately understand or support. I'm not suggesting we give people free rein to do immoral or reckless things without consequences, but depending on the stakes and the severity, maybe we could make more of a practice of trying to put ourselves in their shoes before we judge them. Offer does not apply to white supremacists, Christian nationalists, or other authoritarian movements. So anyway, that's me mostly trying not to judge myself too harshly. Catchphrase.